Last year, 50% of high performers left their roles. According to Gallup's Workplace 2020 study, only 50% of employees have clear expectations. Many of these performers left their jobs because of an accountability challenge. Expectations were not being met, low performers were bringing down the team, and leaders were not effectively delegating to bring the best from their team. Some left for a lack of clear expectations. How do you overcome these hurdles in business culture where everyone could? In episode 6 of The Next Level, this season we're unpacking the tools you need to effectively connect and collaborate with your team. Ready to build your personal toolbox? All that and more right now on the New Generation Leader on IBGR Profit Radio to start, grow, and exit your business. You are listening to the IBGR Network, International Business Growth Radio Network. We are live. Good afternoon, Kansas. 4 p.m. Pacific time. I'm Aaron Lee, your host, and welcome to today's episode of the New Generation Leader. If this is your first time listening to IBGR, welcome. If you're a return listener, welcome back. I would love to invite you to join the conversation during the show today, throughout the rest of the week. Become part of our community. Follow us on social media, on your favorite network, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at IBGR Network. And for this show, you can also use hashtag New Generation Leader. So today we're talking accountability. Accountability, how we add clarity, how we bring clarity to our conversations, to our expectations, making sure we are meeting what we need to do as a business. That for our teams, we are taking them to the next level as we seek to take our business to the next level. Here at IBGR, we talk about being profit radio. We want to help you increase your profits all across every sector of your business, from marketing to finance to operations. We're here in the people lane on IBGR, and there are some incredible on-air voices throughout the week that will help you press in on what you want to work on, where you want to focus, how you want to and need to build your business. And as we talk about accountability today, I want us to think about this in a new way. A lot of times we think about this as a soft skill, a little bit of a mushy, good, how can we, with the tactile details that we need to focus in on to bring clarity. But how we bring clarity is often part of the challenge for us as leaders. You know, most leaders deal with this constant tension between authority and where these ingredients are evenly restrict authority to carry out that responsibility, then you feel good. You feel empowered, you're able to grow, you have the ability to develop your skills. But when you feel like you've been given more responsibility than authority, then over time, this leads to deep frustration and bitterness. As we talked about at the outset of the show, this is why we start losing high performers, because there's an imbalance. Somebody has more responsibility, but they don't have the authority to do anything about it. And if you're the leader and you're keeping more authority than responsibility, then there is truthfully a selfish component to this. And it means someone on the other side of you has more responsibility than they do authority. And oftentimes, this situation is rooted in what we call some sort of self-preservation, some sort of hoarding. This is from the person who's hoarding authority. They're hoarding out of a protection perspective. There's something maybe that you're trying to hide, or something that you're trying to prove, or maybe even it's something that you're afraid of losing. And when you ask yourself those three questions, am I afraid of losing something? Am I trying to hide something? Am I trying to prove something? I start to understand what possibilities I might have to overcome this challenge, to right the imbalance. Because if we don't fix this imbalance of authority and responsibility, then we disempower our people. Disempowering over time will suffocate your team's drive and talents, lead to frustration, a decreased capacity to perform, a decreased energy to perform, and then eventually leads to burnouts, departures, and even explosive situations. So, how do we overcome these challenges? How do we fix these situations to make sure that we are bringing our best? Our team, each team member is bringing their best, and we know and understand what to expect from each other. Only 50% of employees, Gallup says, feel and know and believe that they know what to do, that they have clear expectations. And we've got to fix that. We've got to overcome that. I have been in so many situations with clients, with organizations, with partners over the years where I have watched this from a front row seat. And it's demotivating. It hurts me to watch even when I'm not actively involved and engaged. Case in point, I was in a meeting with an organization that I work with here locally just this week. And we were having a conversation, and immediately the leader of the organization, the leader's go-to response in every situation is, what can I do? And truly, I believe the motivator for this leader asking this question every single time is an ounce, maybe more than an ounce, of self-preservation. Trying to prove something, trying to hide something, afraid of losing something. Feeling like this leader is not quite equipped, doesn't have the experience, doesn't have the backing, some sort of fear. And rather than tapping into the potential of the team as a whole, the skills, the roles, the experience, the passion and drive that the rest of the team members have, instead, this leader holds it all for themselves. And that becomes a challenge because exactly what we just described. It suffocates your team's drive and talents. It leads to frustration. I'm watching team members be frustrated right now. I'm watching a decreased capacity to perform, and not just capacity to perform, but decreased drive to perform. If you go to our show notes, you'll see this delegation tool. And as we're building our toolbox throughout this season, I want you to take a look at this tool and begin to understand how the balance of authority and responsibility allows you to empower your team. But where you keep the authority out of self-preservation, but you delegate the responsibility that becomes disempowering, you start to see how this wears and grinds on your team. But we want to be high-performing teams. How do we get to this place? How do we build accountability as one of the key building blocks of a high-performing team? That I know what I'm here to do. Each person knows what each other is there to do, what we want to accomplish, how we want to perform. This is where our focus could and should be if we want to take things to the next level. We build empowerment with our team members because in the right amount, at the right time, in balance with each other. We delegate authority to be able to manage and take care of the day-to-day tasks of the responsibility. A few weeks back on the show, in episode 4, we talked about the one-to-one relationships and the vital importance to have those conversations. This leader I mentioned here locally, one of the clients I'm working with, you know what I've seen? This individual rarely, if ever, has one-to-one meetings with team members. Communication is at a standstill. It's grinded to a halt. There is a lack of trust. And so in the relationship that's falling apart, where responsibility has been delegated but authority is not granted, the team, the organization are being stifled. They will not grow. They will not succeed. And this is a scary place to be. It's really scary to have that outlook. And from my seat, to look at a business, to look at an organization, to look at a team and see you are going 100 miles an hour towards a cliff. And this is going to be a steep drop and an abrupt ending to what you're doing. But it doesn't have to be this way. So after a short break, we're going to come back and start talking about why some of this came to be, how we can work to fix it, and throughout the rest of the show, continuing to build your toolbox of understanding on how you can take your team to the next level. And instead of running full speed towards a cliff, that you can build towards a positive, effective future. We'll be right back here on IBGR on the New Generation Leader. If you haven't had a chance to download our app yet, I would love to invite you to go online to ibgr.network. Download the app, or from your favorite app store on Apple or Android. Download the app, get the show notes that way, join the community, and listen live throughout the week through the app. It's an incredible tool that will help you take your leadership to the next level as you grow your business. We'll be right back. Do you know most teams function at less than 60% of their true potential? How much does this cost your business every year? For every team within your business, it's at least $200,000 in lost revenue. How do you solve this challenge? With Invincible Teams, you can. Measuring the 5 key building blocks of high-performing teams, we immediately know where to start to take your team to its true potential. Start your free assessment today at newgenerationleader.com/IBGR.
After working with some of the largest organizations in the world and thousands of small businesses in 116 different countries, we realized that all organizations share one thing in common. They all want to unlock the potential of people. They want everyone to be productive and empowered. They want their teams to perform at the highest levels while creating an amazing culture. They want to impact the lives of their customers. At Giant, we want what you want. We've discovered the science behind unlocking people, and that's why world-class brands trust us. We unlock organizations by implementing the Invincible operating system. The Invincible operating system begins with an assessment, so we can understand the current reality of your teams and where the growth opportunities are. Then we use our toolkit to go beyond teaching to true transformation. Our tools are memorable, practical, and profound. Lastly, we follow a process that allows us to effectively touch everyone in the organization with the right experience at the right time, so everyone from key leaders to team members can be fully unlocked. Are you ready to take your organization to the next level? Are you ready to become invincible?
Most teams function at less than 60% of their potential, which costs you in lost revenue. The Invincible Teams Assessment tracks the 5 factors of Invincible Teams and takes your team to its true potential. Start your free assessment today at newgenerationleader.com/IBGR. And welcome back to the New Generation Leader on IBGR International Business Growth Radio. Here on the New Generation Leader, we are building your toolbox to take your leadership of your team on the people side of your business to the next level. As we get into the next segment here today, I want to invite you to go to IBGR.network. Join the conversation by clicking that blinking question mark in the bottom corner. You can ask your question. That will come to us here at the station, and we will bring your question into the show and involve you in the conversation here, and hopefully continue the conversation long after the show is over. We'd love to connect with you throughout the week as you seek to build your business, grow your profit, and take your business to the next level. Also, you should download the show notes while you're on the website. Make sure you can follow along because we are building the toolbox that you need to take your team, your business to the next level. And as we talk about these tools today, it helps to see them right in front of you and have a picture. Have a picture in your mind that helps you know exactly what we're talking about. Not only to know what we're talking about, but also to gain a deeper understanding, to apply this lens and this framework to your team, to your organization, as you're seeking to motivate your team towards accountability. Now, as we turn the corner here, we talked about how our fear, a lot of people, we talked about this as self-preservation, but a lot of people refer to this as imposter syndrome. And we all have it. I even heard, I think it was Jason Pfeiffer from Entrepreneur Magazine say he was sitting down with the CEO of a major American company, and both of them looked at each other and said, "Can you believe you're in the job that you are in? Can you believe you've been given the role and the responsibility and the authority that you have to lead this organization and this business at this time?" And they looked at each other and said, "Nope, not at all. I can't believe I'm actually in this place. Do I even belong here?" Deep down, we all have this. We all naturally have something we're trying to hide, something we're trying to prove, something we're afraid of losing. But if we can call awareness to that and get to a higher level, a higher place, we can gain a credibility with our team. We can be secure in who we are, humble in what we know and what we don't know, but confident that we are ready to tackle whatever comes our way. And we're confident enough to delegate to the people on our team to bring the best out of them so that collectively, all of us together can build towards the future. So I want to take a step back as we look at some shifts that we have seen and how this plays into accountability, authority, and what that means for our teams today. So let's take a look. I want us to go back in time to, we'll say, the mid 20th century. And generationally speaking, from the traditionalist generation into the baby boomers, the overwhelming organizational structure was hierarchical. It was that militaristic chain of command. You had authority based on the role that you were in. Simply by sitting in a certain seat on the bus, you were expected to be granted authority. Not based on anything you had done, but simply by the title on your office door. And this hierarchical structure, as you look at what this meant for businesses and for teams, it was highly organized. But if you wanted to work through the layers, you had to work through the layers. There were lots of levels to work through to get an ultimate decision from the person at the top of the organizational chart. But it was highly organized, highly departmentalized. You had segments and groups, And that worked for a highly efficient, highly organized, really an industrial mindset that needed to have strict guidelines for the safety and the well-being of employees. The organizational structure mimicked the production process even. And so as a product worked through these stages of production, as it came to be, it worked through these stages of the hierarchy. Now, you go completely from one highly organized framework to the other end, where you might consider a flat leadership. Completely flat is not militaristic. There's not a clear chain of command. There actually can be a lot of confusion and chaos here. And the challenge in an organization like this that chooses to go this route, where the leadership structure is completely flat, is we don't know who we are accountable to. There isn't anyone to truly delegate authority and responsibility. In fact, it's demotivating to some extent because we've completely removed authority from the conversation, from the organization, from the team. We all have shared responsibility, but no one truly has authority. Well, as we look into the digital age, as we talk about here on the New Generation Leader, we are in a fundamental shift from an industrial world to a digital world. And sure, there are still elements of our culture where industry is still at work, but it's not the dominant way of our time. Digital transformation has completely changed how we see the world around us, how we interact with the world on an everyday basis. It has even changed the frequency at which culture and our community change and turn over and adjust and adapt to the world around us. We have technology at our fingertips, and it's influenced every part of our lives, from our health and well-being, like the watch on my wrist right now. No longer is it just a mechanical watch that ticks the time, but I am connected to the world from my wrist. And the same with our phones. And we now have more computing power in our pockets than we did on the first desktop computer that my family had. And that shift has changed how we see the world. And so we've realized that no longer in this complex, fast-paced, changing world, no longer can one person fulfill every role within an organization. No one person can be the expert at everything. In fact, one of the things we talk about is that in this digital world, knowledge is not power. Data information is at our fingertips all over the internet. But what is truly transformational is in leadership, how we lead people. That involves knowing about ourselves, knowing about others. And so as you download the show notes, I want to highlight a new style of leadership. And this is polycentric leadership. And polycentric leadership is hard to describe. It's hard to visualize. And so if you download the show notes, you'll see this. And you'll see two axes. One has decision making, how we as people make decisions. Some of us use people and values. Some of us center on systems and logic. On the other side, we process information differently. Some of us are looking ahead to the future. Others of us are thinking today, right now, what's right in front of us, the practicalities of our day. And as we talked about a few weeks ago, The 5 voices is a powerful tool for communicating, for adding clarity to your team. And the reason I use this to describe polycentric leadership is that each one of us are wired to bring a certain perspective to communication, to decision making, to processing, even how we bring conflict to refine our conversation and our goals, our work together. And true polycentric leadership taps into the leadership qualities, potential, but most importantly, the perspective. Not that everyone is a leader, but if we are going to move forward the best that we possibly can into the future, mitigate against potential future landmines, valleys, pitfalls, we have to have each of these voices and perspectives at the table from the outset. If we don't, we're not living into our full potential as a team, as a business, as an organization. So how can you look at this in a way that allows you to tap into every team member, that allows you to have every voice at the table, that allows you to realize, I don't have all of the skills and qualities and competencies or perspective that I need to lead well. I need a group around me. I need to surround myself. This is why the new generation leader, one of our hallmarks of a new generation leader is the inner circle that we carry with us. So we'll come back to all this, take it one step further after this short break here on IBGR. And if you haven't had a chance, would love for you to hop on our website, join the community of commerce. As we come back and talk about the inner circle is that place where you can lean into others. You can have other voices that will help you take your business and your team to the next level. So as you're looking to grow your business, join the community of commerce to find those voices that you need to help you lead confidently. Do you know most teams function at less than 60% of their true potential? How much does this cost your business every year? For every team within your business, it's at least $200,000 in lost revenue. How do you solve this challenge? With Invincible Teams, you can. Measuring the 5 key building blocks of high-performing teams, we immediately know where to start to take your team to its true potential. Start your free assessment today at newgenerationleader.com/IBGR.
After working with some of the largest organizations in the world and thousands of small businesses in 116 different countries, we realize that all organizations share one thing in common. They all want to unlock the potential of people. They want everyone to be productive and empowered. They want their teams to perform at the highest levels while creating an amazing culture. They want to impact the lives of their customers. At Giant, we want what you want. We've discovered the science behind unlocking people, and that's why world-class brands trust us. We unlock organizations by implementing the Invincible operating system. The Invincible operating system begins with an assessment, so we can understand the current reality of your teams and where the growth opportunities are. Then we use our toolkit to go beyond teaching to true transformation. Our tools are memorable, practical, and profound. Lastly, we follow a process that allows us to effectively touch everyone in the organization with the right experience at the right time, so everyone from key leaders to team members can be fully unlocked. Are you ready to take your organization to the next level? Are you ready to become invincible?
Most teams function at less than 60% of their potential, which costs you in lost revenue. The Invincible Teams assessment tracks the 5 factors of Invincible Teams and takes your team to its true potential. Start your free assessment today at newgenerationleader.com/IBGR. Welcome back to the New Generation Leader on IBGR. I'm your host, Aaron Lee, and welcome to today's show where we are talking about motivating for accountability. Now, if you want to take this conversation with you throughout your week, I would invite you to download our IBGR app from your favorite app store, Apple or Android, and carry this conversation with you throughout the week. You can listen live through the app. You can download show notes. You can join the community of commerce and be part of what's going on here in the IBGR community, because we are here for you, taking your leadership, your business to the next level, increasing your profit, and taking your success to where you want to go. There are some incredible voices around this community. So I hope you will take the opportunity to hop in, download the app, and join the conversation and be part of what's going on here in the community. We are truly more than just a radio station. We are a community, and we are here for you. So join the conversation, and let's see where this conversation goes, how we can be part of this movement together. So we're talking about accountability and authority and responsibility and how we delegate effectively to make sure that our people, our teams, are bringing their best, but not only that they are bringing their best, but that we are bringing our best. And here's an important reminder for us. No longer are we in a position where we can believe that one person can hold every responsibility, every task, every expertise within the business. As we talked about before the break, this idea of polycentric leadership, that even perhaps within a team of leadership, you may be the business owner, but on a day-to-day basis, you tap into and lean on the expertise of your team members in their respective areas, because they uniquely bring a perspective that you don't have. And we talked about how we make decisions based on people and values or systems and logic. We talked about our processing. Are we future-oriented or are we present-oriented? But there are even ways beyond that. Those dynamics we call nature, but there are also the oughts and shoulds of life that we picked up as part of our nurture, where we grew up, the geography, the community, the generation, the type of school and education we had, what our family of origin looked like, who raised us, how we were raised, how we were educated, when and where that occurred has a heavy influence on how we see the world around us. And so when we can tap into that diverse perspective, the idea of polycentric leadership is that it moves that center of energy, that in the right time at the right place with a balance of authority and responsibility, we can tap into that leadership capacity and potential from anyone on our team. So it moves beyond this perspective of, I am the owner, I am the boss, I know everything, and simply because I'm the owner and the boss, I retain the authority, but I delegate the responsibility to you. That's simply not effective. Maybe it was at one time. Maybe there was an allegiance and a worldview perspective that employees would fall in line. But as fast as our world is moving, we have to tap into that. Patrick Lencioni released The Motive earlier this year in 2020. And it's, as we talk about 2020, probably one of the few shining moments of the year. But most of Patrick's works offer an incredible lens and an incredible perspective. And this one was no different. I waited eagerly for this to come out and got to read it. And there's a powerful statement that he makes. The premise of The Motive comes down to, as a leader, are we the chief doer or are we the coach of those who do? I'll say that again. Are we the chief doer? Are we the one who is the expert at doing all of the things? Or are we the coach of those who have those skills, those unique skills and abilities that they bring to the table? Which one are we? When I was leading a nonprofit that sent volunteers, I oversaw the branch of this organization that sent volunteers to respond to natural disasters. Now, I don't know if there's something in my wiring, if this goes back to my own house burning down when I was a child, when I was 4. Watching that happen, watching the firefighters come, that was maybe an element of nurture for me growing up, that I wanted to respond. I wanted to help and offer assistance. And I was eager. After the hurricanes of the 90s, then 9/11 happened, then more hurricanes of the 2004, 2005. Whenever that headline appeared on TV, I had this inkling. I wanted to respond. I wanted to go. I wanted to do something to help. And it was a dream job when I stepped into this role, leading this section of the organization. But I faced a conundrum pretty quickly. As much as I wanted to do, and go, I realized that I couldn't go and do all the time. If I wanted to be effective at leading people, and yes, volunteers were different, but if I wanted to be effective at leading volunteers, I needed to help them find more and more places at the table to serve, to go, to do. Because at the end of the day, if I rushed and drove out to the front lines of a disaster and jumped into that situation, I lost my capacity and my ability to recruit and organize and send others. And I watched a lot of other organizations face this conundrum as well. And some leaders rushed to the front. They were there on the front lines with their people. And others built ways into their organization, layers in their organization that they were able to delegate effectively, to give authority and responsibility on the front lines to go and respond. And I think that's the conundrum that we face in starting a business, in growing a business, in adding team members. Where do we start to hand off that responsibility and authority? How do we do this clearly and effectively so that there is accountability both for us, accountability that we are delegating effectively, and accountability for the task and the role that our team members begin to fill? And so think about my analogy, my experience with volunteers. Are you typically the one who runs to the front lines? Or are you the one who sends, develops, equips, and invites others to use their skill set? And if you're in the first group, consider this week what you can delegate. And I know there has to be an element of trust. You have to trust your team to be able to step into this place. Well, what is it? What can you invite someone else to do? What can you coach them to do? How can you help them do it? I was talking last week on the show I mentioned my realtor friend and the incredible work that he does in building raving fans as customers. We had a meeting this week. He and I had a conversation, and we talked about this very issue of delegation, how you learn and train and bring up the next layer of leaders. How do you bring people along to impart the knowledge and the wisdom, the understanding that you have so that they can take their leadership to the next level? And as we head towards the close of this segment, I want to leave you with this thought. On the My First Million podcast, I think last week, they posed a question that I thought was really interesting. At the end of the day, when your life is over, what do you hope your legacy is? And one of them said, I believe I want my ideas to outlast me. I want my ideas to live on, the things that I have written, that I have come up with. And I think there's a tweak there. If you have effectively delegated to your team your idea, your wisdom, your perspective, if you have done that and truly multiplied yourself, not just copied and pasted your framework onto them, if you have effectively multiplied, they will take that idea to the next level. They will iterate on that as they multiply into others. We'll be right back here on IBGR after this, but I invite you during this last break, hop over to IBGR.network, download the show notes. Don't forget to do that to build your toolbox, but click the blinking question mark. Ask us a question, jump into the conversation. We would love to engage with you, continue that conversation, and be part of helping you grow your business, taking your business to the next level. We are IBGR. Do you know most teams function at less than 60% of their true potential? How much does this cost your business every year? For every team within your business, it's at least $200,000 in lost revenue. How do you solve this challenge? With Invincible Teams, you can. Measuring the 5 key building blocks of high-performing teams, we immediately know where to start to take your team to its true potential. Start your free assessment today at newgenerationleader.com/IBGR.
After working with some of the largest organizations in the world and thousands of small businesses in 116 different countries, we realized that all organizations share one thing in common. They all want to unlock the potential of people. They want everyone to be productive and empowered. They want their teams to perform at the highest levels while creating an amazing culture. They want to impact the lives of their customers. At Giant, we want what you want. We've discovered the science behind unlocking people, and that's why world-class brands trust us. We unlock organizations by implementing the Invincible operating system. The Invincible operating system begins with an assessment, so we can understand the current reality of your teams and where the growth opportunities are. Then we use our toolkit to go beyond teaching to true transformation. Our tools are memorable, practical, and profound. Lastly, we follow a process that allows us to effectively touch everyone in the organization with the right experience at the right time, so everyone from key leaders to team members can be fully unlocked. Are you ready to take your organization to the next level? Are you ready to become invincible?
Most teams function at less than 60% of their potential, which costs you in lost revenue. The Invincible Teams assessment tracks the 5 factors of Invincible Teams and takes your team to its true potential. Start your free assessment today at newgenerationleader.com/IBGR. And welcome back to the New Generation Leader on IBGR, International Business Growth Radio. I want to invite you to hop on to IBGR.network, or as we mentioned earlier in the show, download the app from your favorite app store and join the IBGR community of commerce. As we talk about throughout this season on the New Generation Leader, the inner circle, the people that you have pouring into you, investing in you, giving you an outside added perspective. These are some incredible people here in the community of commerce who might be that trusted voice you need. They might bring that exact perspective that you need to add to your inner circle, to your team, to help you take your business to the next level. So hop on over to the community of commerce and be part of that conversation. There's always conversation happening throughout the week. Well, we've been talking today about motivating for accountability. And the challenge that we have in getting to a place of accountability means that we are setting the stage in balancing authority and responsibility. If we want people to be accountable for their actions, we have to delegate that effectively. But let's get into the nuts and bolts of being accountable, making sure we are doing our part. We can't control the actions of our team members. We can't control what they do, the decisions they make, but we can give them the tools that they need to be as effective as they need to be. And I want us to take a few minutes right here to look at this performance diagnostic. When we get to a place where we have a challenge with a team member, where is that really truly originating from? So we look at these four components: organization, leader, head, and heart. From the organization, is their role clear? Have we clearly identified what we want them to do and where we want them to go and how we want them to function? The second part, from their leader, maybe that's you or maybe that's a second level leader investing in this team member, have they received the appropriate training with support and challenge to help them take their leadership, their work every day to the next level? Have they gotten that? Have you truly imparted and clearly outlined the expectations that you have for them? Do they have the skills that they need to be effective here? Then we look at the head. This is the head of the team member. Do they have the competency to do this job? Or maybe do they need to shift into a different role? If everything else checks out, but there's a competency issue, maybe they need to shift to a different role. I worked in an upscale quick service restaurant one time, and I did not have the competency to work on the front line. My brain could not function fast enough to meet the goal and the expectations in that role. Was there another role? There were other roles that I filled in that team for a season. But sometimes you have a great performer. You just need to tweak where they are. And then lastly, their heart. Is their behavior in line with the organization's values? Have you laid out where you want them to be? Have you laid out expectations of how to be, how to act, how to make decisions, how to carry themselves? And are they in line with that? If they're not, maybe it's time to take a look at that. Maybe there's a way to work on that to help bring them around, or maybe this just isn't the right fit. But when we look at these ingredients, we understand that there are different ingredients, different components to making sure that someone is set up to be successful, to make sure that accountability even is what we want to have. And if we want people to be accountable, we need to help motivate them towards that. We need to make sure that they are ready to be able to bring that to the table. So as we wrap up the show today, we've talked about a lot. We've talked about, for us as leaders, what we're trying to hide or prove, or what we're afraid of losing, and how we overcome that imposter syndrome or self-preservation. We've talked about the difference of leadership structures and the power of the 5 voices and how that can help us understand the different perspectives we need to have on our team. And we mentioned just before the last break this idea from My First Million podcast about what your legacy is. How do you get to that place of having an X factor? As you look at your team and you invest in them, truly invest, making sure you're bringing out their best, elevating their skills, their talents, their abilities, elevating their perspective and their voice, we start to recognize where we can build, where we can lean on someone. And the building blocks of a high-performing team help us create an environment where there is trust, there is accountability. We've talked about these building blocks, and the first building block, the foundation of a high-performing team is communication, that we have a clear common language, that when we talk about what's going on in the business, I know what you're saying, you know what I'm saying, and we understand each other. As we talked about in polycentric leadership, that's not how we're naturally wired to see the world. If we just function on autopilot all the time without a common language, we're going to miss each other. We're going to fly over top of each other, and our communication is not going to help us strengthen our team. And then on top of the communication comes the interaction. It's fine to have that common language, but when we take that to the next level and add in healthy, strong relationships and interactions, this is where accountability truly comes in as an ingredient. And it's only on the backbone of communication and relationships that we can organize our team effectively, that we can begin to execute, and that we can build for capacity. And what's truly helpful in assessing our team and where we are is to have an assessment, to have an objective assessment, to be able to find a score, to be able to put a number on where we are as a team and where we need to grow. Accountability comes from having this common language and an objective perspective. Here's one take. Take a quick listen to how we work with teams. Do you know most teams function at less than 60% of their true potential? How much does this cost your business every year? For every team within your business, it's at least $200,000 in lost revenue. How do you solve this challenge? With Invincible Teams, you can. Measuring the 5 key building blocks of high-performing teams, we immediately know where to start to take your team to its true potential. Start your free assessment today at newgenerationleader.com/IBGR. If we want to be effective at delegating, we've got to recognize, like we talked about with that My First Million legacy quote, what is our X factor? How are we multiplying ourselves? One of the hallmarks of new generation leaders that we talk about is finding 100% health in our self-awareness, knowing who we are and how we are wired, and then multiplying that health out into the people around us. The 5 voices as a tool helps us gain that framework, understand our own perspective, the others on our team, and how we work together. And the X factor comes down to our delegation, being effective at sending out, multiplying ourselves into the people around us, that authority and responsibility go in equal calibration, that we can make sure we are calling our people to be their best. How do you do that? Truly, that comes down to a more intensive conversation than a 1-hour radio show. But you can do this. There is training built into a number of systems. We use the Invincible Team system to help effectively build this culture of delegation and multiplication, that you can bring the best out of your team, that you surround yourself with that inner circle and make sure that your team is ready, that they are ready when called upon, not to cower in fear, not to run away, not to lower their expectations, but the drama goes aside, the mistrust goes aside. We stop losing time and decreasing productivity. We find truly our true potential. Our communication and capacity increase. Our team gels with each other so that we increase our expectations, raise our level of productivity so that we can get to the next level. That's what we want. Profit is our measurement of increased success. Measuring your team and building towards invincibility is how you measure the building blocks of that success. So I hope as you think about accountability in your structure, as you think about delegating, overcoming your own sense of self-preservation, investing in your team to bring out their best every day, that you will find a way to tap into their potential, to understand who they are, and to multiply yourself so that they don't have to come to you to answer every question. That when there's a problem, they don't have to hunt you down, but you have the time and the freedom to take a step back, to look at the influence of your business, the future trajectory, and build towards the future growth so that your business increases profit. That's why we're here on IBGR, International Business Growth Radio. You've been listening to the New Generation Leader on Thursday, November 12th, 2020. Thanks for listening to today's show. Join us online on social media at IBGR Network and join the conversation all week long. Thanks for listening. And if you haven't had a chance, make sure you download the app. I know I said this multiple times throughout today's show, but download the app. Make sure that you have that on your mobile device. Carry that with you when you need that extra jolt throughout your week. Open up the app, hop into the community of commerce, listen to a new show from a new host, and take your business to the next level. Have a great week. Thanks for listening to the New Generation Leader on IBGR. I'm so glad you joined the show. Feel free to leave a comment and join the conversation here on the live stream, and be back next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, as we talk about the next level, the next building block and ingredient of new generation leaders and how you can build a high-performing team, taking the business strategy of why you started your business, putting that with a people strategy to increase results and take your business to the next level. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.